guys, I haven't seen you since last year, so let's go over my favorite books from 2014. While a portion of these did come out in 2014, not all of them are new releases. They're just books that I read in 2014 and really enjoyed. And these are not all 5-star books either, because I didn't have that many 5-star books, so I'm going purely on enjoyment and books that stuck with me. So let's go backwards and start with number 10. My 10th favorite book, if you can call it a book, of 2014 was Captain Marvel, Higher, Faster, Furthermore by Kelly Sue DeConnick. I read multiple Captain Marvel storylines this year, but this volume was by far my favorite. It involves Carol taking off into space on some adventures and having to take her cat along, and she meets up with the Guardians of the Galaxy and some alien people, and she has to do some politics. It was just the most hilarious thing I read all year. I kept like quoting passages from it to my younger brothers. She has to deal with the Guardians of the Galaxy and Rocket trying to like blow up her cat, and everything Carol did felt like something that I would do. It was just like this perfect graphic novel. Coming in at number 9 is Tess Sharpe's Far From You, which I did an entire video review for, which I'm kind of proud of, so go watch it if you haven't. This is a YA contemporary mystery. The protagonist is a LGBT character and is also disabled and has addiction tendencies. With that comes the fact that she's an unreliable narrator, and not only do we know she's unreliable telling this story, but those around her believe that she is unreliable. She's trying to figure out her girlfriend slash best friend's murder. She's hurting and she just got out of rehab, and it's just so raw. And it also has that mystery aspect of trying to figure out who killed this girl, knowing that there's a killer on the loose. So it's so full of emotion and adventure and terror and this sadness and this tension, and it also uses the B word. It says bisexual in the text, which is great. So if you're looking for a very powerful read with lots of representation, this is the book for you. My 8th book is very hard to put into words, probably because there aren't that many words in this book. It is essentially a scrapbook that is telling a story, and that is Chopsticks by Jessica Anthony and Rodrigo Corral. Because this isn't a traditional novel, it's told in pictures and drawings and notes and text messages and newspaper articles. No one is going to read this book the same as the next person, because everyone picks up on these little details differently. Very easy to miss things. So this is also essentially a mystery. It doesn't start out that way. It's more a YA romance with a few mystery tendencies thrown in there. But as you read, you find out more and more, and it only takes a half an hour to read, and I know I personally had to go back and reread the whole thing again to make sure that I picked up on every single detail, because the ending hits you so hard. It's just the perfect way to tell this story. And there's also music that goes along with this book. There are links, and there's a Spotify playlist somewhere. I recommend this so much, because even if you're not a reader, you would like this, because it's just a book of pictures, but it's this immersive story. My 7th favorite book in 2014 was the Art of Wishing series, which my favorite being the Fourth Wish. I like to describe this duology as Twilight with genies and feminism, because this girl finds out that there is magic and genies and all that kind of jazz because she falls in love with a genie. The magic system behind the genies is so well thought out. The whole world building is so great. This series was just so much fun because it's about genies in love and high school and music and musicals. And then when you get to the sequel, that's where this feminism comes in to play, because the genies can change bodies, they can change genders, and there's kind of like an element of LGBT representation in here. It had a really nice ending that I'm not gonna spoil, but It made my inner feminist very happy. Everything that was wrong with Twilight was corrected in this book, and it was just so much fun. For number 6, I also have a super fun feminist series. It is the Unspoken Trilogy, of which I only read 2 this year, but I recently finished the 3rd one, and so it's going on the list because finding this series was just like the happiest moment of my year. As you know, I'm not a big Sandra Clare fan, but I do think the characters are really funny. The dialogue in her books are really great. And now the author of the Unspoken Trilogy, Sarah Reese Brennan, is really good friends with Cassie, and you can tell that because they have the same sense of humor and they add that to their books. The Unspoken Trilogy has everything I've ever wanted from a series. The main character is kick-ass and girly and is also a woman of color. She has a lesbian best friend, and she has had this relationship with this guy in her head. She doesn't know if he's real. Everyone thinks he's her imaginary friend, but he's the most important person to her. The Lindberghs have always been whispered about in this little town, and they come back, and she meets one of the boys. And he's the voice in her head. And it just goes from there. We find out who the Lindberghs are and why they're so important. It's just a book full of these badass ladies, hilarity, and magic. It was pretty perfect. And for my number 5 spot, we finally have some adult fiction, and that is The Storied Life of A.J. Fickery by Gabriella Zevin. This is the book for book lovers. It is about a man who owns a bookstore whose wife recently passed away. And one day in the bookstore, he finds a baby. And he keeps her because he's lonely. He's a lonely, pretentious old man. But as she grows up, he grows with her. And the character development in this story is so perfect. It is real, and the town also evolves with him. Everyone learns because they are reading and they are hanging out with AJ and his daughter. And it's just this great progression of events. And before every chapter, there is a book recommendation for his daughter where he explains why he thinks she should read this and what she would get out of it. And it's so cute and heartwarming. It's like being wrapped in a warm hug with a cup of tea and a book, and it's just... If you like books and cute things, this is the book for you. My number 4th pick is a book that I did not think was going to end up on this list when I first heard about it. That is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. I definitely read this because of the hype. I didn't want to be out of the loop knowing why everyone was so secretive about it, so I got it from the library. And I am so glad I did. I have a full video review up about the book that is kind of spoilery, but only because I give trigger warnings for the book, so you definitely want to go check that out if you have triggers. I guess I don't really want to get into the book too much if you don't want to know what it's about still, but if you do, you can go check out the video. It's just this YA contemporary that turns into a mystery, which I seem to like those lately. It is a story about friendship and mental illness and an unreliable narrator, and memories and loss. The ending hits you so hard. I know everyone says that oh my god, the twist, but it's not even that. Like, I knew what was coming, but it still hit me so hard. I literally felt like I got hit. Like, I was sobbing. And I don't cry at books at all. But I was like sobbing, like bent over this book trying to catch my breath because it was just so immersive and beautiful. Everyone says they don't know how to talk about this book, and it's so accurate. We're gonna stop talking about it because I don't know what to say. My number 3 spot is the 3rd book in my new favorite series, which is the Lunar Chronicles. So of course, this is Cress by Marissa Meyer. When I read Cinder, I disliked it a lot because I knew everything that was gonna happen. She gave way too many clues, and it was just so predictable. But on a whim, I picked up the 2nd book, and was blown away. I think it was in last year's top 10. I think my favorite thing about this series, and this book in particular, is the found family of misfits. And so Cinder is just picking up these characters that she's finding, and they're total misfits, but they seem to use their own unique skills to help Cinder's cause, and it's so great. I love team dynamics. I love Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I love Buffy, I love Scorpion, all of those shows that are just a team of misfits trying to accomplish something, and they all kind of love each other. They're a big family. Not only that, but Marissa Meyer's writing is incredible. The characters are obviously amazing, and the plot is actually pretty great. Everything gets better book to book, and so this was just like the pinnacle. I can't even imagine what the rest of the series is gonna do to me. My second favorite book of 2014 is technically not a book. It is a graphic novel. This year was the year of the graphic novels, but especially it was the year of Hawkeye by Matt Fraction. You know how I said with Captain Marvel that I was reading passages and bits of dialogue to those around me? I literally read this entire book to my friend one day. I'm like, and in this panel it says, "Hey Katie Kate." I acted out this entire graphic novel basically. If you don't know, Matt Fraction's Hawkeye is basically Clint on a normal day when he is not being an Avenger. He's just hanging out. You wouldn't think a superhero comic book where he's not being a superhero most of the time wouldn't be interesting, but this is so interesting. He's such a loser. Let's talk about the friggin' artwork and that color palette. Look at the amazing, color palette, the artwork. He talks in the way that normal people talk, and he's just hanging out and drinking coffee and hanging with his dog and his BFF, Kate Bishop. And then, of course, there is action in this, because how can Hawkeye not get into trouble? I mean, seriously, he's just constantly screwing up and having to fight bad guys. If you're more into the comedy aspect of the Marvel movies, give this a go. And now, if you're paying attention, you probably know what my first favorite book is, seeing as I normally have it right over here. But I don't, because it's in my hand right now, and that is Everything Leads to You by Nina LaCour. I have a whole video about it because it is my favorite book of the year. This is a YA contemporary mystery because apparently I'm really into that right now. This book is about the movie industry, being a 20-something, having passion, having privilege, having best friends, having family. It really has it all. It has beautiful lines, it has hilarious lines, it has diversity and representation up the butt. I really don't know what else to say that I haven't said to convince people to read this novel. I have been recommending it to everyone, people who wouldn't be really cool with the fact that the main romance is between two girls, but I recommend it to them anyway, because there are other aspects of this book that's really great. I didn't just love it because of the lesbian main character. I loved it because the main character has so much passion about everything, and that gets her into trouble sometimes because she has this image of her in her head of her future, of Hollywood, of other people, and she learns a lot. I don't know what to say that I haven't said already to convince you to read this book. I mean, I read 93 books this year, and this was my favorite one. So that might say something, I guess. And those were my top 10 favorite books that I read in 2014. There are links below where you can find all of their Goodreads pages and put them on your TBR list, and also links to my social media. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!